make an altar in your living room. And let's let the Father speak to us through worship today.
Let your glory come down here and rest. Let the fire
let your glory come down. Oh, let the fire fall, let the wind blow. Let your glory come down and rest here again. Let the fire fall, let the wind blow. Let your glory come down and rest here again. Let the fire fall, let the wind blow. Let your glory come down. Oh, let the fire fall, let the wind blow. Let your glory come down. Oh, let the fire fall, let the wind blow. Let your glory come down. Oh, let the fire fall, let the wind blow. Let the glory of God come down and rest here. Let the fire fall, let the wind blow. Let your glory come down. Let your glory, oh, your glory come down here. Oh. Sing a song, and if I have a testimony, if I have anything at all, no one ever cared for me like Jesus. His faithful hand has held me all this way, and when I'm old and gray and all my days are numbered on the earth, let it be known, in you alone my joy was found. Let my children tell their children, oh, let this be their memory, that all my treasure is in heaven, and you were everything to me. No one ever cared for me like Jesus. His faithful hand has held me all this way. And when I'm old and gray and all my days are numbered on the earth, let it be known in you alone my joy was found. Oh, my joy, my joy, my joy was found. I'm still in love. You're still enough for me. Still all I want. You're still my everything. Oh, I'm still in love. You're still enough for me. Still all I want. You're still my everything. No one ever cared for me like Jesus. His faithful hand has held me all this way. When I'm old and gray and all my days are numbered on the earth, let it be known in you alone my joy was found. sweet unending joy, joy, oh sweet unending joy, oh joy come, oh joy come, sweet unending joy. We thank you for a new song. 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 It's no one ever cared for me like Jesus. No one ever cared for me like Jesus. His faithful hand has held me all this way. And when I'm old and gray, all my days are numbered on the earth, let it be known in you alone our joy is found. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the to honor, Lord, I feel it. Prompt to live, oh God, I love. Here's my heart, oh take and seal it for thy courts above.
Wow, what a graceful message. Jesus cares for you. We are so blessed. God's got this. He has us in the palm of his hands, and he loves us. We are so blessed by our worship team. Aren't you so blessed, church? Speaking of blessings, put some shout outs below. What has happened to you this week? Please share. Give some shout outs of praise. Tell us some miracles that might have happened. Maybe you got to talk to an old friend. Maybe you got to witness to someone. Maybe you just got to spread love in some way. We want to hear you. We want to be encouraged, edify each other, and build one another up, right? That's what it says. So go ahead and shout some stuff in the comments below. That's awesome. So we also want to talk about what's going on in the church here. Last week, we picked a restaurant of the week to help be part of the community. We picked Annie's Deli. It was awesome. Talk about the sandwiches you guys ordered and shout out below, right? We were so grateful that we were able to participate and bless them. With that, we also are going to pick a new restaurant. The restaurant that we're doing this week is Pizza Brothers in Bedminster, New Jersey. And you'll hear more about that, but please go to their Facebook page, like them, order every day this week. Let's bless the community, guys, because that's what the church is. It's about giving out. It's not just receiving, but it's being a blessing to all in any time of need. We also have another thing happening with Agape House. Teresa and John Fuson made a great connection, and guess what? They're in need of supplies, and we want to be the church and help be those suppliers to them. So you'll see more about that on the Facebook and Instagram as well. Also, this week is National Day of Prayer, so you better be ready to have some good prayer groups happening this week. We're going to talk about some great events that are going to happen and some just fun things that are happening. We also have Women's Bible Study, which we're super excited for, that happens on Fridays. We are so grateful for you and for everything happening. For those of you who are new, welcome. I'm Amy. We are grateful for you viewing us online, and we'd love to see you in the building someday soon, hopefully. And church body, oh, we miss you so dearly. I know we all can't wait to the day when we can actually hang out and have our good after service community chats, right? We can't wait to get that coffee from Franny and all of her helpers. Anyways, while talking about this, before we get into the message, I also want you to know for our regular church members who are here, below me is a link where you can give your tithes and offerings, and there's also the app. In addition to that, we also have the mailing address if you're going to mail your check. We are grateful for you. We miss you so much, everybody. We love you, and we can't wait to see you soon.
Welcome, TCOTH family. We're so happy you guys are here in the house with us. Just what an incredible time of worship we just had. How amazing it was. Just want to give, before we go any further, guys, and we get into anything else, I genuinely want to take a second. I want to give an amazing thank you to Becky and the worship team. Just what they've done in this time and in this process. For those guys that are able to be in the room and to actually play on the praise and worship team, and those that haven't been able to be in the room just because of restrictions based on social distancing and things like that, your continued prayer and support. Guys, you guys have been absolutely amazing. On top of that, I also want to shout out our media team, our recording team, our incredible group of people that have been putting this production together every week for you guys to watch. And by incredible group, I mean Elijah. I want to give Elijah a special shout out for everything he does. If it wasn't for him, you guys would be getting a video of me from my cell phone every week, probably sideways or upside down with terrible audio. So I want to thank Elijah personally for making me look good every week. So I want to take the next probably 20 to 30 seconds, minute, whatever it is, and I want us to do two things. One, I want us to shout out our thank yous for Elijah and Becky and what they've meant to us in this process. And also, let's say hi to each other as well as we go through it. Okay? Let's say hi to somebody. You notice somebody's on, say hi to them, okay? This would be your atypical meet and greet that we would have after worship. But I definitely wanted to take time to say a special thank you to Becky and Elijah and the entire worship team and sound team. The time and the effort these guys put in is just tremendous, and we couldn't do it without them. So, guys, thank you so very much, all right? We also want to give a shout out to all you guys that made it out to Annie's Deli this week and was able to bless them with the business. I made it there twice this week. Can't say I ever went there and ate before, but I will say I will definitely be back. By far the best chicken salad sandwich I've ever had, with bacon and lettuce, tomato and mayo. It was absolutely incredible. Second time I went, I got a chance to actually speak to the owner. He was super excited about what we were doing and blessed by us going by and giving him his business. He definitely said he noticed an increase in his business this past week. So thank you guys for getting out and doing that. But again, this week as we go out to our new restaurant that Amy mentioned, let's make sure we go in. If you get a chance or an opportunity, let them know you're from the Church of the Hills. Let them know that us, the Church of the Hills, their community church, is going out and into the neighborhood and trying to bless them as they've been a blessing to us through the years. And when you do that, get a chance to take a photo either with the food that you ordered or at their place when you pick it up, whichever one it is, and share it on Facebook or send it to us so we can share it on Facebook. Again, guys, we just want to get it out there that we're still doing something as a church, even though the state is in kind of a shutdown type of place, okay? Speaking of people getting outside of their homes and doing things, guys, what a special thank you to those guys that came out to the parade for Brielle's birthday. You guys couldn't have made it any specialer for an 8-year-old little girl who just jumped up and down the whole time screaming, "This is the best birthday ever." Guys, seriously, as a dad, I thank you guys so much for coming out and doing that. Anyone who's watching this that was a part of that, you guys are awesome. You're rock stars. I love it, okay? I love it. Speaking of getting out of your house, guys, now that the state has opened up parks and golf courses, first, anyone who wants to golf, hit me up. I'm ready. I'll go. I don't care where it is. I don't care when it is. I will go golfing, okay? I hope you don't expect me to do well, but I will gladly go. But we need to get out of our pajamas, we need to get out of our houses, and we need to get to the parks. We need to get some fresh air. The weather's getting nice. Last couple days, maybe not so much, but the weather's coming around. We need to get out of our houses. We need to get some vitamin D, guys. I'm going to encourage you to get out to the parks, take some pictures, post them on Facebook, share them with us so we can post them on Facebook. Okay, guys? we have got to look at this through a new lens, okay, guys? We got to stop looking at it as being locked in the house with no place to go and nothing to do, all right? And I also want to give you guys a special challenge this week. When we first started doing the Panera Bread donations, Lulu introduced me to a place called the Agape House. And introduced me in terms of, she was the one who volunteered to pick the items up after church on Sunday and drive them over and drop them off. And it really was a blessing to the Agape House. And I got to give a special thank you to John and Teresa Fusan, who, even though the church is closed, we no longer need those baked goods for Sunday morning fellowship. They've continued to go on Saturday night and pick them up, and on Sunday take them over to the Agape House and drop them off to bless them. But they've started to run short on other things that they have, and they've reached out to John and asked him if the church would be willing to potentially help in donating things like toiletries, things like toothpaste, hair care products, shampoo, conditioner, soap, etc., different things like that. As well as they need some non-perishable items. They need things like canned goods. They need things like baby formula. Some other things they may need is sheets and pillowcases for the beds that are there. You know, we've been going through our houses and we've been looking to get rid of a lot of things, or maybe cleaning out our cupboards and different stuff like that. And I'm sure we all have items in our house that we could donate, that are usable, that are good for these guys to have. My challenge for you guys this week is that you guys bring enough stuff. John has offered his front porch as a collection place, that you guys bring enough stuff and leave it on his porch that next Saturday he's got to call me up and say, Mike, I don't have enough room in my 2 cars. Do you mind coming down with your truck to help load this stuff up? That's my personal challenge for you guys, is to load John's porch up so much that he's going to need help getting that stuff over there. For those guys who don't know where he lives at, just Google the church. You pull in the church parking lot. His house shares the parking lot of the church, so you can't miss where he's at. You just have to drop it off on the front porch. That's it. All right? If you've never been to the Agape House, I would challenge you, if you feel up to it, to go there and drop the stuff off yourself so you can see some of the wonderful stuff they're doing over there. But those are our challenges this week, guys, okay? You've got the Restaurant of the Week to TCOTH. You've got Agape House to TCOTH. And last but not least, okay, Joe Catalano's Jesus Booking Gift Store is now back open. So let's make sure we get over there and we support him as well. Pick up a book, a DVD, something, okay, that will bless you and bless him in the same process. So make sure you share all that information with any and all of your friends, all right? Man, just what an incredible season we're in. I don't know about you guys, but man, my soul has been so blessed over the past few weeks or month as we've been going through this quarantine, and I've kind of gotten past the, oh my goodness, what is going on? And I've really been just sticking on the song, it is well with my soul. Now, it doesn't have to be well with my circumstance, but it is well with my soul. And as we look at this pandemic, what's so cool about this pandemic, and it's I know that's an odd word to use when we're talking about what's going on and all the losses of jobs and lives and everything else, but one of the things that I've noticed is now I've found out, and we've found out what can and can't be canceled in our lives. You know, my meeting can be canceled, my school can be canceled, you know, my dinner can be canceled, my plans can be canceled. But in this process, my family time cannot be canceled, and it's so cool that even in the midst of this, I get family time. And most important, my God can't be canceled in the midst of all of this. And in the midst of all of this, I've had an opportunity to draw closer to Him than I ever was before. And what's so awesome is that even in the middle of this pandemic, when you can't take anything back to Target that you need to exchange, you can't take anything back to Home Depot that you need to exchange, you can't take anything back to any store and exchange it, my God is still offering an exchange policy. See, my God tells me that He'll give me a garment of praise for my spirit of heaviness. But the thing is now that we're into, March 15th, we're now into May. Speaking of which, special shout out to any of you guys that have a birthday in May. As a matter of fact, down in the chat, if you've got a birthday in May, I want you to type it in, okay? I want to have those names when I look on there later so I can be praying for you guys that you have a blessed birthday month, all right? And I want you guys to be able to go back and tell everybody 5-10 years from now, you can say, month I was born is the month that the coronavirus pandemic ended and they opened up the country again. So I'm believing beyond a shadow of a doubt that this country will be back open by the end of May. You guys will be back in this building, okay? But again, brings me back to the point of I'm starting to run out of projects to do in my house. And so what do I do now? Like I've already ripped the carpet out of one room and refinished the hardwood floors. I painted a room. I even cut a hole in one of my walls and I built a coat closet because our house didn't have a coat closet in it. What else have I done? I've painted my kitchen cabinets. I'm finishing that project up as we speak. You know, we've gone through all of our baby stuff and we've either donated it or put it into storage the way it's supposed to be. I've redone my quote unquote man cave and I'm running out of things to do. So the question is what do I do now? And that's really what I want to talk about with you guys today is what do I do with my flesh this far into the pandemic? Okay? And we're going to be looking at Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 41, okay? Those of you guys who have your Bible, open it up, your phone, wherever it is, okay? Those of you guys that are just waiting for it to come up on the screen, you guys can just wait another minute or two. It'll be up there. Don't worry, okay? Listen, there is no reason you guys shouldn't have your Bible with you. I know it's going to be up on the screen, but that's no excuse. All right, but let's open up to Mark chapter 4, verses 35. If you got your Bible and you've got it open, say, I've got my Bible. All right, here we go. Starting in verse 35. That day, when evening came, he said to his disciples, let us go over to the other side. Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along just as he was. In the boat, there were also other boats with him. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat, so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, Teacher, don't you care if we drowned? He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, Quiet, be still. Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? They were terrified and asked each other, Who is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him. And what's interesting about this is right after they got into that storm and they found Jesus, they say Jesus was in a deep sleep. Now, I'm talking about a deep sleep. I'm not talking about, barely. I'm talking about real REM sleep. The type of sleep I know not what you speak of, at least since 2012 when Brielle was born. And since 2012, it's been one of a couple things that keep me awake at night. It's either a foot in my rib cage, a heel in my nose, or if they do sleep in their own bed for the entirety of the night, which is a rarity, okay, it's either me wondering or making sure that they're okay, or Amy, every noise that we hear, wondering and wanting to know if someone fell off the bed and what was going on. And when this whole thing started, this whole pandemic that we're going through, I looked at the Bible and was wondering, okay, God, like what's going on here? How do I look at this and figure out what's going on out here right now? And this story, these few verses is one of the first places in the Bible that I thought of that really kind of wraps up what we're going through. See, Jesus knew what they were going through. When the storm was there, Jesus knew exactly what they were going through. And Jesus wasn't worried, so why are we? And even though he calmed the storm, once they woke him, they asked, they asked the question to each other, who is this that he can even calm the winds and the waves? And some of us today, that's where we're at in our lives, in our walks, and we don't really realize what he's capable of. And some of us still are floundering between this idea of Jesus having the answer for us and Jesus actually being the answer for us. And the disciples during the storm, they were losing their minds. See, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to turn. They didn't know where to go. The same way some of us, when we get into Costco, lose our minds trying to get to the toilet paper aisle so we can scoop up 347 rolls of the industrial sized toilet paper so we can prepare for whatever is about to come. Not sure what you need 347 rolls of toilet paper to prepare for, okay? But that's what we do. We're losing our minds. And the thing is if the disciples would have known they were going to go through the storm, they would have either, one, not gone. I'm not going to go. I know what storm's out there. Okay? Or they would have been better prepared. And for so many of us, that's us in life. And we see these disciples they're not rookies. We're not talking about people who were on the boat for the very first time. These guys had spent a large chunk of their lives on the water. Some of them were fishermen for a living. That's all they did. They owned boats. They knew what it meant to be in a boat. They knew what it meant to have a couple of waves and some wind. Okay, so these aren't rookies. These guys were experts at boating. And we go through our own lives like this so many times. And we stand there and we say, listen, I've got this. I got this under control. I know what's going to happen in this situation. I know how to handle what's going on right now. Okay, I know how to handle it. See, I can provide for my family. I don't need anybody else. I can make it happen myself. And we live our lives in a manner in which when we can't figure out what to do, it's then and only then that we ask Jesus, what's the answer? And we ask him, Jesus, tell me the answer. And we don't even get to the point where we say, Jesus, we know you're the answer. See, in this part of the Bible, the storm came suddenly. It says it came upon them. And anytime something comes upon you, it means it's unexpected. It came out of left field. They didn't know it was going to happen. See, and in life, the storms that we face, they come suddenly. And the thing with storms is they can change your norm. See, the storm changed the disciples' norm in this setting. What would normally have worked to get across to the other side wasn't working. And when the storm shows up in our lives, it comes with one word on its lips. And that word is surprise. See, this storm we're all facing right now, this pandemic, has changed our norm. And that's all you hear people say, is the norm as we know it is gone. The normal we're used to will never happen again. Because of this storm, everybody's house is now a school. Because of this storm, everybody's house is now a church. Because of this storm, a lot of people have lost their jobs. And I pray for those that have lost their jobs. On a daily basis, I pray for you guys that God will restore 100-fold what you've lost in this process. The same of you guys that have lost friends, families, or loved ones to this disease. That God will restore 100-fold what you've lost. But this storm, for some of you guys, has made your job now from home. You're now a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home dad, a stay-at-home teacher, and a stay-at-home employee. See, that's why the Bible tells us in James chapter 4, don't make plans to do something tomorrow. God's called you to do something, do it today. Don't put it off, don't wait. And see, the one person who was not surprised by this storm was the one person who led them into it. See, the verses start by saying, let us go to the other side. You don't think Jesus knew the storm was coming? See, when I was growing up, it didn't matter, okay? It didn't matter. Didn't matter what happened. It didn't matter what got broken. It didn't matter who broke it. It didn't matter who got hurt. It didn't matter how many people we upset. Didn't matter how many people we offended. Mom had one question, and one question only, every single time. Who started it? Because whoever started it, that's whose fault it was. Okay? See, in this story, Jesus is the one who started them on this journey. Jesus says to them, let us go. And a lot of times what I'll do when I'm reading things through the Bible is I'll read through some things, and if it's parts of the Bible where the letters are in red, and those of you guys, most of you guys know, and those guys who don't, if it's in red letters, it means Jesus said it. And what I'll do is I'll go back to the story, and I'll do what I call red line reading. Okay? Red line reading. What that means is I'll go through that same exact story, and I'll read only what's in red, just so I can see what Jesus is saying. And sometimes in life, you've got to take out all the other junk. You've got to take out everything else around you. You've got to get rid of all the noise, and you've got to ask yourself, Jesus, what are you saying? And he says three simple things here. Let us go. Peace, be still. And why are you afraid? Let us go. Peace, be still. And why are you afraid? Let us go. Peace, be still. Why are you so afraid? See, let us go to the other side. See, that's a promise. That's a promise that he's with you. Let us go to the other side. Not only is it a promise that he's with you in this, it's also a promise that he's going to see you through to the other side. Not let us go and go somewhere and we don't know where the end destination is. No, Jesus says, this is where I'm taking you. I am with you in the process, and I am going to see you through till the very end. Let us go to the other side is a promise from God. Peace, be still. Peace, be still speaks to his power. His wonderful, wonderful power that he has. See, the disciples knew there was something out of their control in this situation and in this setting, and he had the power to control it. And why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? Speaks to a problem, the disciples' problem. So we have our three P's here. Okay? The promise God has given us, the power for him to see it happen, and the problem. And right now, guys, we are all facing a problem. We are all facing a problem in this pandemic. It has affected every single person, whether it's from Florida up to Canada, whether it's east to west. It doesn't matter where you throw a dart on a map. This pandemic is affecting people. And God will often use a problem to remind you of his promise and to show you his power. See, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. That's what the Bible says. Storms can also be used to show us who he is, as well as where we are and what we still need. Storms can also bring us together, guys. Storms can get our attention. See, you have to realize God knows there's storms coming. And in this storm, it made them search for Jesus. And everybody right now, everybody is looking for Jesus right now. Whether they know it or not, they're looking for him. And where is Jesus in the midst of the storm? He's in the back of the boat. And why? Why is he in the back of the boat? See, here the disciples are acting just the way they thought they should act. I've got this. I know what I'm doing. I'm a fisherman. I've been fishing my whole life. I've been on boats since before I can walk. I know how to run this thing. I can get us from this side to that side with no issue. Do me a favor. If you don't know what you're doing, if you can't contribute the way I want you to, do me a favor. Just go to the back of the boat. Let me handle this. I'll get it taken care of. And it sounds a little bit like how some of us live our lives. We say, I got this. I know what I'm doing. I don't need anything else. Do me a favor, Jesus. Okay, do me a favor. If you don't know what you're doing, if you're not going to contribute or do this the way that I want you to, just go to the back. All right, just go to the back. I've got this, and behind me is my job, and I can provide for my family, and that's most important. And behind that is that I make sure that I look like I've got everything figured out. Okay, and behind that is my family. I want to make sure they're okay. And behind that is my priorities of what I think is important. And behind that is t-ball practice. And behind that is dance practice. And behind that is basketball practice. Just keep going. Go all the way to the back, because I've got this figured out. I don't need you right now. And then all of a sudden, when we're in a storm and we don't know what to do, the disciples find Jesus asleep. And what do? They decide to get angry. You don't care? Jesus, what are you doing sleeping? You don't care what happens to us if we drown? And a lot of us right now are at that very state in our walk. We look about what's going around. We see that everything is out of our control. The problem is real and we can't solve it by ourselves. And we think Jesus doesn't care what's going on right now. And we've gotten angry at him. And they looked at it as an indictment of not caring. Jesus sleeping as an indictment of not caring. And they made a decision in a state of panic. See, panic has a tendency to pollute our perspective of things. Brielle, wonderful Brielle, has learned how to ride a two-wheel bike during this pandemic. It's an amazing blessing. So happy that I was able to help be a part of that and be home and help her learn and achieve this milestone in her life. But as in anything, when you learn something new, you make mistakes along the way. And there's been more than one scraping of the knee or elbow or falling off the bike. And Dad comes running over and scoops her up, and I take her in the house, and there's gravel in the knee or it's bleeding, and I say, we got to get it cleaned out. We got to get it cleaned out. And meanwhile, Brielle is screaming and crying, and Dad, why are you hurting me? Why are you hurting me? You're hurting me, Dad. And because she's in a state of panic, she mistakes me helping her for me actually hurting her and not caring about her. And that's what the disciples did here. They had mistaken what Jesus was doing for him not caring. And in the Bible, when I would read this, a lot of times I would think Jesus sleeping was a sign of kind of his power and his authority and man, God can sleep in this time. Like, he's so powerful, he's so wonderful. But as I started to read more of my Bible, and I really started to look, especially at this verse and how it related to other things, I realized that sleeping is not a God thing, that it's a fleshly thing. See, God is fully human, yet he's fully God as well. He's fully man, he's fully spirit. And sleeping, anywhere you find it in the Bible, refers to the flesh of man. See, the God side of Jesus never slept. How do I know that? Psalms 121, the very chapter and verses that this church was built on almost 30 years ago. Okay? Where does my help come from? It comes from the hills. He does not sleep nor slumber. Psalm 46, God is my refuge and my strength, an ever-present help. An ever-present help. See, Jesus is all human and yet all God. A God who knows what you're going through, but knows how to get you through it. A God in the midst of your storm is able to be with you. A God who not only sees, but feels what you're going through. And in the midst of all of that, all that's going on, the storm, the waves, the crashing, Jesus is asleep. But it's not the God side of Jesus that's sleeping. It's not the God side of Jesus that's resting. See, because he is ever present in my danger. See, it's the flesh side of Jesus that's resting in the storm. Every time the Bible talks about sleep, it talks about flesh. Jesus went to the garden with the disciples. They fell asleep 3 times. So in the midst of the storm, the flesh side of Jesus knew he could rest because he knew and understood the God side of who he was. And I get the moments of panic. I get the moments of the freak out by the disciples when they're out there and they're trying to control things and they're experts and they know what they're doing. And all of a sudden, it becomes too much for them to handle. It becomes too much for them to handle. And they don't know what to do. And they do the only thing that they knew how to do. When they exhausted every option of their own, they ran back to Jesus. But when they got to the stern of the boat, they saw he was sleeping. And what should have been a moment of clarity and peace, a moment where they were like, yo, Peter, grab my blanket, grab my pillow. Jesus is sleeping right now. We're good. Bring me my blanket. Bring me my pillow. I'm not stressing anymore. Jesus is sleeping, so let's go get some sleep. This will be over soon. He's got this. See, they should have realized that God gave me a promise that we're going to get to the other side. So let me just cuddle up next to him, because if he ain't stressed, I ain't stressed. But that's not what they did. He was sleeping, so instead, they got furious. He doesn't care about us. And something they should have seen as a blessing, they were complaining about. And what I've realized over the last couple of weeks is I have started to look at this pandemic through a completely different lens. A completely different lens. And last week we talked a little bit about not getting back to the normal that we're used to, okay? But getting to God's normal. And to seeing everything as Jesus being the answer, and realizing no matter what it is that we're going through, no matter what the situation is, it is a blessing. And we've been complaining about things we should be grateful for. A lot of us have been begging God for more time with our kids. A lot of us have been trying to find time to get that room painted, to clean out the garage or organize the attic. But because we're in a situation, in a setting that we can't control, what we want to do is complain about the situation. And we've got to be able to learn to put our flesh to rest. See, we let our situations pollute our perspective, and we let our circumstances cloud our calling. See, and here comes the hallmark ending, right? This should be the stuff that movies are made of. The disciples get in there, they're freaking out, not being able to control the boat on their own. And they're, Jesus, get up, get up. And Jesus gets up, and he walks over to the edge of the boat, to the waves, and he speaks to it like it's a child. Takes all authority over it. All authority over it. And he says, peace, be still. And he rebukes the storm. And here's where the happy ending comes, right? Here's what the movie should end like. He calls over the disciples, he puts his arms around them, and he's like, see guys, I got this all under control. You can trust me, you can lean on me. And the credits roll, and everybody's happy. But that's not the way it ends. See, Jesus actually, after rebuking the waves and the winds, he turns to the disciples and he rebukes them and he goes, where's your faith? Don't you know who I am? Don't you know who I am? Don't you know life is going to be filled with trials and tribulations? Guys, don't you know life is going to be filled with trials and tribulations? Don't you know life is going to be filled with storms like this? But didn't he give you a promise Didn't he promise you, let us go together through this journey and I will see you through to the other side? Why is it that your flesh is so unsettled? See, he tells the disciples, were you not there when I raised the dead? Were you not there when I healed the lame? I can surely get us through this. This is just a storm. And some of us in this season, as we're struggling through this pandemic, we need to take a second and look back at our history with him and realize, you, me, everybody, that Jesus will get us through to the other side. And what's crazy is then they went from being scared of the storm to being scared of Jesus. They were terrified, and they turned and they looked at each other and they said, who is this that the wind and the seas obey his command? Who is this that can take control? And some of us are in such awe of the storm that we're in that we don't realize we serve a God that is greater than the storm we're facing. And we are limiting what God can do in our lives because we don't trust to put him first. The disciples become terrified. And God is trying to do something so great and so wonderful in your life in the middle of this storm. And some of us are going to miss it because we're too afraid of what he might do or the way that he might do it. Guys, don't be in all of the storm. You've got to be in all of him. It's time to put our flesh to rest and trust him in the middle of our storm. See, Julie sent me basically an analogy this past week that was absolutely incredible. I'm going to share it with you guys. And it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. And basically, if I was to ask you what this bat is worth in my hands, and how useful is it in my hands? It may be useful to a slow pitch men's softball league. Okay? It may be useful as a high school baseball coach. But in the hands of Derek Jeter, it's worth World Series championships. It's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. You take a basketball. Okay? You take a basketball. And in my hands, what's this worth? Maybe 15, 20 points in a men's league at the YMCA or somewhere else, okay? But you put that basketball in the hands of Michael Jordan, that ball becomes worth 6 NBA titles and hundreds of millions of dollars. See, because it depends on who has it in their hands. Depends on who has it. You take a football, and in my hands, what's it worth? Maybe the $20 or $30 that it cost to buy it. But in the hands of Tom Brady, it's worth multiple Super Bowls. It's worth millions and millions of dollars. Okay? Take this golf club, which I can't wait to use next week. And in my hands, it's worth maybe 100 strokes on a good day, 110, 115 normally. Okay? But in the hands of Tiger Woods, it could earn you $80 million. One event. What good is a stick in my hands? Maybe I could use it to start a fire. Maybe I could, I don't know, knock something down with it. But in the hands of Moses, it'll part the Red Sea. Again, whose hands is it in? Slingshot, nothing more than a kid's toys in my hands. But in David, it's a tool to defeat a giant. Fishes and loaves in my hands, it feeds me, maybe a couple others. In the hands of Jesus, it'll feed 5,000. Couple of nails, maybe I could build you, hang a couple pictures, maybe build you a birdhouse. Not too much more. But in the hands of Jesus, it's worth salvation. It's worth an eternity in heaven. Guys, we're all going through situations right now. We're all going through a storm. We're all going through things that are out of our control. But as long as they're in your hands, that's exactly what they're going to be. Just going to be a storm, just like the disciples. A storm they couldn't control, a situation they couldn't control, a problem they couldn't control. But in the hands of Jesus, they bring peace. In the hands of Jesus, there's answers. In the hands of Jesus, there's a way to the other side. Let's pray. Dear God, we love and we thank you so much, Father, for everything that you do for us. God, we ask now that you just be with us this week. God, you would give us the strength to put our flesh to rest and to know you've made each and every one of us a promise. God, that you would go with us and you would see us through to the other side. God, if there's anybody out there today listening to my voice and they've never said, you know what, I want to put it in the hands of Jesus. Jesus took 2 nails in his hands for me, and I want to give him my problems and my situations, and I want to put them in his hands. I would ask that you would just pray this simple prayer with me. Repeat after me, guys, if that's you. Jesus, I've sinned and fallen short. I ask you to come into my life, to be my Lord and Savior, to be my rescuer, and to see me through to the other side. God, I ask that you will give the doctors and the government and the president all wisdom as we go to open this country back up. And God, as we're all so hungry, God, to get back into this house and to be a congregation and to serve you, God, I would ask that you would give each and every one of us a way to be a blessing for you while we wait for that process to finish. God, be with us as we head out into this next week and bring us back again next week safely as we look to glorify and serve you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mountain fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Oh, here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I'm come, and I hope by thy good measure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger, interposed his precious blood. And
What is up, TCOTH fam? Hopefully you guys enjoyed that wonderful worship and were able to get something out of the word. Again, just want to remind you guys and challenge you, make sure you guys go by and hit up Pizza Brothers this week. Let's go TCOTH them, as well as the Agape House. And let's not forget about Jesus Book and Gift as well. Guys, get out of your house, go enjoy the sun, okay? Let's get out, let's do something this week. Let's get active, all right? Hopefully we'll be back in the building before we know it. Make sure you guys check your Facebook and your Instagram for details about what we'll be doing for the National Day of Prayer at the Church of the Hills. Love you guys, miss you more than you know. Can't wait to see you back in the house.